Hello and welcome to Steven University. Why is Chris doing the introduction? Because this week Dan's chillaxing. We've just had a discussion about how he feels like this is what it must be like to be me, because it's me that's like pulled all the theories together and stuff. Because I said I would. That's not me moaning. It was my idea. I volunteered to do it. So yeah, Dan's come to Steven Universe. He's not got trivia open. He's relaxed.
Not even got my laptop.
Huh? Not even got your laptop. Wow. We're recording to.
I had to do nothing for this podcast, and it was disconcerting to the point that I messaged you last night to check that was fine, because like I'm just the idea of there being a podcast and me not having done anything. I didn't watch a thing. I didn't. Do you know what I mean? I saw all the theories coming in over the course of the last week or two and had a look at some of them just because I was generally reading our feedback and comments.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's quite disconcerting. I feel unprepared. I know I'm not, because I know you've done the legwork.
So Dan sent me a message. He was like, "You have been collecting the theories, right?" So I just sent him like 15 screenshots where I've been screenshotting them as I've been seeing them, and then a Bryan Cranston dropping the mic meme.
Yeah, he did, and I remember like I was like, when I saw the first 3 come through, I was like, oh, he's gonna send me about 20 of these. So I just sort of like put my phone down for a minute and like let them all come through.
Well, although I will admit, so I'll say up front, it is disconcerting because like I've been doing them as they came in, and then I was like the other day, I was like, oh, that doesn't look like much. So I did 2 things. I searched the word theory to double check. On the Discord I'm talking about here, and then I went back. I looked at when we uploaded the episode where we were like, "Oh, give us your theories," and I went back to like the 24th of October, and then like we talked. There's been a lot of politics talk that I don't understand the last few days, but I was like, but you never know. I still, between like that YouTube, I still might have missed any. I assure you, I did all I can to not. But if I did, don't think it's because I wasn't a fan of your theory or whatever. So simply comment on this video or comment in the Discord and be like, "Oi, dick, you forgot this," and we will talk about it. But don't think it's deliberate. Yes. I've tried to find everyone. But
so what we'll do is we'll make it self-contained now to the comments of this video. Yeah. If you posted a theory and it was missed. If you didn't post a theory and you were simply too late, that's a different story. Wait until we do another one of these videos further down the line. But if you definitely posted a story or a theory to us, and for some reason we missed it, stick it in the comments below, big capital letters, "You missed this theory, dickheads," and we will make an effort to squeeze it into a future episode, even if it's not on that topic. I think that's fair.
Because thinking about it, I don't know if I checked the emails last week. I did check them the week before. I didn't think I saw anything.
I keep my eye on the emails. Nothing came through in the emails.
Right, cool, fine. Good,
I think we've made ourselves so accessible now that the email has become redundant. Like when we were doing Nothing But Static originally, and we didn't really have a Twitter, we didn't have a YouTube channel with comments, and we didn't have a Discord. Like people would just, the only way they could get in touch with us, they'd be like dig through, they'd be like, "There's an email address, I guess I'll try that," and we'd get these really the sort of long messages we get from like some of our favourite sort of listeners now. I mean, we love you all equally. Of course,
it's quite early for a Cram shout out, isn't it? Hey, buddy.
Yeah, well, Cramo is one of them, but like, there's a handful of people who've been commenting since very early on that are still commenting and writing these really interesting messages that we do read, even if we don't always get back to them. But back in the day, we used to just receive those via email, and now we get them from so many other formats. I think that people have stopped using the email because what's the point? So yeah, I
didn't see anything via Twitter. I didn't see anything via Twitter, I must admit, but I did concentrate on checking YouTube and the Discord. So, let's crack on, Dan. So,
Theory 1.
Big one. Big guns up top.
Do I have to say, so I'll do the little sung intro for each one. Theory 1. Ba-dum-bum.
Stuart Universe on the Discord says, "What do you think of the theory that Rose is Pink Diamond?"
Let's very quickly just address that. I wonder if Stuart Universe is a reference to this podcast.
Yeah, I think it was, because I think if memory serves, his username changed shortly after that, I think. So.
Right. Okay, excellent. Can I just say, because I wondered that when I saw that one, I remember thinking, I hope that's why. That's my favourite thing, that we've started some sort of like something amusing enough to put as your username, and by accident, admittedly, but I'm going to take credit for that. To the Rose's Pink Diamond theory, R equal PD, was a very popular theory for a very long time prior to it being confirmed. Do you think I made the right choice in not telling you that theory ahead of time? Do you think if I'd have told you it, you'd have guessed it?
I think so, yeah, potentially. I think you, on theories, not to get too meta and spend the whole episode discussing the concept instead of the theories. But I think on theories, you were right to take the approach that you did, which is to not really talk too much about any obscenely popular theories, unless I went down that sort of route. I think certainly it would have stuck in my mind. There's a kind of, I know they've not been released yet, but we've recorded the first couple of Over the Garden Wall, and I sort of threw out a loose theory in episode 1, and you know it's a thankless task that you have. But even your kind of could be reaction made me think, oh, I think that's potentially definitely it. And that's, affected the way I watch the episodes going forward. So I think
really
anything,
hard. Yeah, it's quite difficult.
Absolutely. It's a thankless task.
Yeah, it is, because it's one of those things where I can't win because I'm either going to say too much or too little in the eyes of the listener, in terms of because they want to control your experience the way I'm trying to control the experience. And my goal to control the experience is to keep it as neutral as possible and ensure that you watch the episodes, in as honest a way as possible. But people have a different sort of line drawn for what's too much information for me to give you, what's too little information for me to give you, and different sensibilities in terms of what elements are important and what elements can be frivolously thrown. Or, I frivolously revealed to you quite early that, the gems don't eat. And I think I remember somebody being like, you shouldn't have told them that. And I'm like, it's not really it's not a plot point.
Yeah.
To my sensibilities, that's fine. To someone else's, it's not. So it's a thankless task in that I'm never going to please everyone. But I think with the Rose Pink Diamond theory, and generally a lot of the really big ones, I avoided them even before I knew, because obviously I didn't know when we were recording the bulk of Steven University that was true. But it was one of the popular enough theories that I just thought the really. So I find with theories, the really likely ones rise to the top a little bit, because I think it's a hive mind, isn't it? It's when dozens of people are thinking something through, if a very high percentage of them decide that it might be the thing, then there's a likely chance that the writers went the same way. Does that make sense? It's hive mind mentality. It's not always that way, but often popular theories move to the top. The same thing happened in the first season of Mr. Robot. I'm not going to reveal the twist there, but that theory very quickly rose up amongst fandom and became quite popular, and then turned out to be true. So with any major Steven Universe theory that was believed by more than just a handful of people, I was very cautious about telling you about it.
Yeah, and I think also it would have affected my viewing, because
definitely.
In general, you can have
particularly the dream.
Have a theory. Huh?
But particularly the dream sequence from what was the episode? Jungle Moon.
Yeah, and the joy of watching that reveal, and I understand if people want to go, yeah, but we all knew that theory and still got a lot from that episode. But when you're dissecting every episode for half an hour, 40 minutes, sometimes your mind ends up going into areas you weren't expecting, or you end up concentrating more on those little things than you would have done otherwise. So I think it was definitely the right decision. Just to clarify, because we have spoken about Stuart as if he was being serious. I do think Stuart was joking, but it has obviously led to an interesting discussion.
Yeah, well, I think discussing that theory's existence is something we probably should have done it sooner. because we sort of we passed on it because we were so interested in discussing the implications of the reveal. We didn't really get to talk about the fact that it had been a theory for a very long time, and it really did split Steven Universe fans. It was. I've never known a theory to be so polarizing in terms of like the people that believed it to the absolute. There were very few people in my position. Basically, I was kind of like, yeah, it makes a certain amount of sense, but I was struggling with like the morality of if Rose and Pink were the same person, she created a war against herself, and I was like, the morality of that, if that was true, was very sketchy. And while the show had made Rose seem complex morally because she was involved in a war, it hadn't quite gone that far, and I remember thinking, I just don't know if they can make me still like this character. I think it's important that to a certain extent I still understand and like the character. What I should have realised is that these writers are very, very clever, and that if anyone could make it work, it would be them. But, I was in a minority. Most people were either, that's the most ridiculous thing ever, you're idiots, it's not true, versus, it's definitely that. I have decided it is that. And what was really, really interesting was, because the Steven Universe fan base, despite some corners of it being a little bit unpleasant, majority of Steven Universe fans are really good, and I didn't see a lot of smug, "Mwahaha, we were right," doing a little dance. I didn't see much of that when it was revealed, which, credit to the fan base, I think. Again, with the exception of a couple of corners of it, like generally really good. So, but I think it is worth talking about the theory in context, because we never got a chance to. And I wonder, Chris, where you would have led. Like, if I'd have presented you, if we'd have done an episode like one of the bonus episodes where I presented you with not just that theory on its own, because that would have been strange. But if I'd have gone through and found all the most popular theories and laid them at your feet, I wonder if any of them, including that one, would have stuck.
I'd have gone, not sure about that, and then Jungle Moon would have made me go,
I think so too.
Probably the point where I was like, where I was banging on about how her telekinetic powers didn't make sense. You remember that big rant?
I do. I remember. I distinctly remember. And because at that point I knew, and I had to really play it very carefully.
Yeah, I think I'd have gone, no, I'm pretty sure this theory is right at that point.
Right, yeah, that's exactly
and
what...
you know
that's
what,
exactly
that wouldn't have been...
That's exactly what
That wouldn't have been as well as, like, thinking about my enjoyment of the show. From a practical point of view, the podcast wouldn't have been as good. Like, that episode, instead of that 15-minute telekinetic, it doesn't make sense, Dan rant, I'd have gone, it doesn't make sense. Oh, unless Rose is Pink Diamond, then it makes sense. And that's not as, you know what I mean? I don't think that's as entertaining.
No, and I also think that, like, and this is going to sound really weird, but I think in a weird way, we accidentally robbed the fans of a big reveal moment because you figured out Garnet ahead of time. And not a problem. Look, the whole point of this was that it was just the natural way it evolved. But I think we sort of, like, a lot of fans were excited. A lot of Steven Universe fans, our listeners, were excited at the prospect of getting your, like, mind blown, like, oh my god, she's two people, and they never got that, and there was some satisfaction and disappointment as a result of you working out ahead of time. So I felt an extra pressure to preserve that reveal once I'd seen it myself, because I was like, let's not rob them of two of them. Let's if we can get another moment of surprise. So I think you're right. I think the podcast would have been worse had I presented that theory sooner. But I mean, my honest opinion of it at the time, before we knew the truth, was it was an intriguing theory with lots of intriguing implications. So I liked the theory, but I could not make it work enough in my head to go, yeah, that's what it is. So I was a bit on the fence about it.
Fair enough. Just, you said the word polarizing. It reminded me of a fun fact I found out yesterday, but did not know. Completely unrelated to Steven Universe. You know the Fly episode of Breaking Bad, which is like the most polarizing episode of the show.
Yeah. I love it, but I know a lot of people that hate it.
Ironic that you fall on love, but a lot of people hate it. Did you know that that's directed by Rian Johnson?
Is it really?
Yeah,
that's very funny. I knew he directed a handful of Breaking Bads. I didn't know which specific ones because when you're directing TV, it's like it's not a specific like You're just following the style of the show, so it's you don't really, it doesn't make as much impact who's directing it, but that's hilarious. I love Rian Johnson. Genuinely one of my favorite directors. If you'd have asked me who my favorite director was prior to him even being announced as a Star Wars director, I would have named Rian Johnson, because I think Brick is one of my favorite films of all time, and I think Looper is really good too. So Brothers Bloom is good but not great, for anyone wondering.
So for those confused, he directed Last Jedi, which is obviously incredibly polarizing. So I just found that really funny. This isn't a theory, so it doesn't need a jingle, but just a shout out. I am, I'm looking, and I see you, Muji, Mujie, at Chris MBS. I will give you £1 million to post here. I've posted since, but I don't expect the check, because to be fair, I posted like days later. I even saw that on the day and went, that's pretty funny, and didn't reply. But I don't. What are the rules of that £1 million? Because I have since posted quite a bit about cheese, so.
Yeah, you did.
Let me know. Let me know if there's any money coming.
And if you want to join the discussion with us and the rest of the Stephen University listeners, Discord link in the description. Come join us. Come have a chat.
It's good fun. It's such a friendly place. Where what I love about it is no one feels scared to say anything, scared to ask anything non-related. There was a brief discussion about Bohemian Rhapsody the other day. There's a big political discussion during the voting. Just a friendly place. Mm-hmm. I'm really loving it. So also not a theory, but I just wanted to give a shout out to Logan Thropy. Apologies if I'm not saying any of that right. She commented, was it too late to submit a theory? And Dan said no, just tag Chris. I didn't see anything after. So if you want to on the Discord, drop a theory or drop something in the comments.
You can have a special theory jingle of your own on next episode.
Yeah, you get a free pass because you did clearly want to, but I didn't see anything. So just let us know if you do want to comment something. Mm-hmm. Right. So Red Rax has posted something from.
Is this theory 2?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go on.
Welcome to Theory 2. Bum. I'm trying to keep them really short because we are actually on a timer today.
So, Red Rax commented a link to, I don't know if it was from another, it doesn't look like a Discord link, but that link was by Legion Undunen. Sorry if I'm saying that right. I love that we've got
you reading users' stuff out today, because I normally when we do comments or read from user questions or whatever, it's always me, so I have to pronounce the names. You can't pronounce lapis. You couldn't pronounce garnet at first, so having you do this is just brilliant.
Well, LJONI capital A NDUIN, and it's from something called Straight for Jasper. I don't know if that's another. A thread somewhere else, but anyway, Red Rax has posted a screenshot which says, I always thought of it more like this: the diamonds each have the ability to heal and damage a specific part of the gem's being. White controls the mind, yellow controls the body, blue controls the heart, pink controls the soul gem. Now also, before
we discussed this theory.
Yeah, I know, but I think people, because that's not the only time it's come up, people saying it. So I'm just trying to see, because there was, before we gave a shout out for theories, there was a discussion in the SU Spoilers Discord page about basically that as well. So I'll see if I can find that, but you talk ahead.
So I mean, I think we talked about this at least a bit in, I think, Legs from Here to Homeworld discussion. That theory had hit Reddit around Legs from Here to Homeworld because of the scene they released showing Centipedal. People thought that they're going to heal certain parts of it, and this idea that Nephrite came back but wasn't right led people to thinking why, and looking at it, there's certainly a few different, and I've seen a few different configurations of what each gem is, and I've not seen any consensus on which thing each gem controls, but you can certainly assume certain things based on the Nephrite scene, because when each person is touching Centipedal and sort of bringing Nephrite back together, different elements of Nephrite seem to be returning. So you could definitely argue that yellow is the physical form because the physical form stabilizes. I think when yellow touches Nephrite, you can certainly imagine But what's missing is, I guess, the mind at the end. You could argue because Nephrite's still not really making sense. Still not really sure where she is. So it's hard to pinpoint. I love the theory. I do think there is truth to it. I think there is certainly been some consideration put into each diamond's powers in the physical world and what they control. I don't know quite what it is yet because every version of it I've seen, I'm like, does that quite fit? But mind, body, soul, and what was the other one? There's 4.
Yeah, it was. Hold on. Because I found the other thing.
That's the problem as well. It's mind, body, and soul is 3. And
mind, body, heart, and soul.
Yeah, okay. Mind, body,
White
heart,
mind,
and soul.
yellow body, blue.
Yeah, and I definitely buy the certain ones that are really clear. Like I think yellow body it felt really clear to me at the time. I wish I'd rewatched Legs from Here to Homeworld for this, but because it would have made that a little bit easier for me to put my finger on. But the yellow body makes the feels the most correct. The rest of them I feel like are a little bit debatable. You could probably give Stephen heart. I guess is that pink heart? Is that right?
Well. Here's an extension on it because when I read that, I was like, I swear someone put a long version of that of a similar thing in another one. So I went back to before we asked for theories and found it. So it's from Anthony on the Discord, who says that Rebecca cited Wizard of Oz as a big inspiration for the whole show. For example, dropping the barn on Blue / House on the Witch. So that she'd been thinking about Legs to Homeworld and said that through Nephrite we see the fulfillment of 3 wishes: a brain, yellow granting the physical form but without emotion, a heart, blue, and courage, Stephen reassuring her and calming her down. The rest of the ep sees the gang going home. Dorothy's wish is a pair of reddish heels, no less. So basically that which I thought was really interesting and cool. So,
and it wouldn't be the first time the show was pulled from literary as well, because they've used a lot of stuff from Alice in Wonderland in the past as well. Yeah,
I do really like that notion. I think it's one of those. Sometimes with this show, you have like a Stephen is Pink Diamond theory, and you get an all and out right. This is categorically, you have them say the answer. And sometimes I think you get theories and suggestions where what I love about this theory is for that to be proven, we just need White Diamond to do something. Like, we don't need it overtly said. It just needs to happen, and everyone will go, "Oh, cool, that was right." I think the idea makes a lot of sense. I think Nephrite's coming back to form, changing so much depending on who was speaking to her, is a definite sign that there's legs in this theory. Yeah, and I love the Wizard of Oz comparison from Anthony as well.
And I think the only thing is like clarifying exactly what, because like you said, even in your version there, they gave heart to Blue and like courage to Stephen. I've seen a few different variations on it where some of them are much clearer. Like I said, like yellow definitely seems to be body, but like what everyone else is a little bit unclear. Like it's not like you could make assumptions, but you can't 100%. You know what I mean?
Heart and soul / courage in the Wizard of Oz version is a harder thing to quantify, I guess.
And you could probably say white is mind, and maybe she's lost hers.
Yeah, and the logic but to me, there were moments with Nephrite where her mind seemed to be coming back to her. Although people have said that even though she was talking coherently, it was still garbled, wasn't it? So
it was garbled in the sense that she was just saying random things she'd clearly said before. There was stuff that she was obviously saying during the war, like she didn't know where she was. She didn't her mind was still scrambled a little bit. She regained the power to speak in sentences that had some semblance of human meaning, English meaning, but. That it wasn't quite. It was still not contextually responding to what was happening around her. She still was very confused. So I don't know. Again, it's all a little bit vague. I think it's a very good theory. I think there's probably truth to it. I don't think we've quite nailed the configuration yet of who's what. That's my sort of stance on it.
I think that's there. I agree. So you ready for another theory, Dan?
I'm ready for theory 3.
So Lati,
that's not going to get old at all.
Lati on the Discord wants us to discuss who sings Escapism in what context. So she's got a theory that it is Stephen and Pink Diamond duetting across time. She has a second. Am I rolling Lati's into one? No, let's discuss that element first.
Well, I mean, that's
the other one's
that is a theory that not only do I agree with, but it's a theory I posted myself. I'm not alone, by the way. I'm not saying I got there first, but a theory I posted and suggested in the Discord back after Legs from Here to Homeworld. Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. I think 100%. I think it's escapism to me. Once Stephen was trapped, couldn't have made any more sense to me as being it didn't make any sense to me at all other than being a Stephen song, and the idea that he sings it sort of simultaneously to Pink is that he's been trapped in the same room Pink was probably trapped in, and I like the juxtaposition of the two different kinds of trapped, because Pink was trapped in the sense that she wanted to get out and explore the universe, and there's the reason she wanted her own colony, but yet she was sort of stuck on Homeworld because maybe she was too young, not ready, whatever. We don't know the exact reasoning yet. And that kind of trapped versus Stephen's more actual, you've been locked away sort of trapped. I felt like there was a really nice juxtaposition there, and then when I listened to the lyrics of Escapism, it just sits really well in both their positions. So yeah, I 100% think that's true.
Only, just for discussion purposes, the only alternative I've seen, and I don't believe it was someone saying it for the purpose of this, so apologies, I've no credit for it. But the only alternative I've seen is the notion that it's one of the other diamonds, commonly blue, and the notion that actually blue feels disheartened and on Pink's side about what's going on, and like they also get sent to their rooms and end up singing it at the same time, which I think there's some good. It's less poetic, but I think there's some good logic to it, and I kind of the appealing or interesting thing about that is, whilst you don't get the juxtaposition of seeing Pink and Stephen duetting, the notion that the duet could be used to bring one of the other diamonds and Stephen together is quite a nice one.
Yeah, that makes a certain amount of sense too. I don't if that happened, while I think it fits and works, I would be slightly disappointed because I prefer it being Stephen and Pink. I think that creates a better connection between. I think it's important now we know the situation that we start establishing a through line of those characters, because Pink has connection to Rose. We understand her and Rose, and we get that. And then Rose has this link to Stephen. The link across Rose between Pink and Stephen, that seems like a fucking chasm at this point. And I think anything the show can do to make those characters feel like they were the same person at some point would be, I think, beneficial to really bringing home some of the concepts and themes they've been looking at. So I'd be.
That's fair.
I don't agree. I don't disagree that it makes sense, and wouldn't be surprised if they went that route. Personally, though, if we're just talking about personal preference, I would rather, and I think the reason I've lent towards the other theory is because it would help me with that notion, as I just mentioned, about filling that gap between, drawing that line between Stephen and Pink, because that's where we're in my opinion, we're sort of missing out at the moment. But of course, we've only really known the truth for a handful of episodes when you think about it, so it's not that big of a it's not like, what are you guys doing, get on it, or we need to sort this out soon, because you've done 20 episodes and we still don't really feel like Pink and Stephen are the same person. It's only been a handful of episodes, so it's due. It's just when. So that's why I've lent the other way. But again, don't disagree with the other theory. I think it's a great theory, and thank you for posting it. I think it is a really good one, to the point. And I wasn't, again, by saying that I myself posted it was not a way of me being like, we shouldn't be talking about this, I've already talked about it. It was more me saying like, yeah, I 100% agree with this one, so much so that I actually presented this theory on the Discord. When I thought about it, it just made the most sense to me.
Cool. Well, now that you've finished attacking Lati for stealing your theory, do you want the next theory?
I do. So you ready?
Yep.
Chris, my friend, shut the front door, because it's time for Theory 4.
Nice. You're not calling bingo, but nice. So
I tried to sort of make that one slightly rappy.
That's such a British reference, bingo. Do they have bingo in other countries?
They do, but I don't think they do it the way we do it. They do bingo.
They don't do the rhyming.
Yeah, so in England, when they call it out, I don't remember any of them. Do you remember any of them? There's like special rhyming calls.
It's like that. It's like, shut the door, 44. Like,
yeah.
They rhyme.
Yeah, I don't know why they do it that way.
All the 8s, 88.
Yeah, that's it. For some reason British sort of bingo callers, and in this country it's really a game played exclusively by older women.
Back off. Me and my cousins, occasionally every time he's back from uni, we will accompany our nan to bingo.
Now that's different. You're accompanying your nan to bingo. That is proof of my exact. Would you, having no requirement to go with your nan, would you go to bingo?
No,
right.
But you can win big money. Like while we were there, someone won $4,000.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Anyway, right. So Lati again, and I will say this is the first one really where this is applicable. Unfortunately, some of them, in particular some of the ones on YouTube, are really long. I can't... So any that are kind of more than a paragraph or a few sentences, I won't read the whole thing out because I feel like if I did that I'd have to do that for everyone if I was going to do that, and there are some YouTube ones where that's a little impractical because they're really detailed and awesome. So basically, the main crux of this second theory from Lati is that bubbled rose quartzes in the zoo are fake gems. So at some point in the future, we will have a moment before a Blue Redemption arc where she unbubbles one and realizes it is fake, and sees that Pink was so sure those gems would never be unbubbled that she didn't worry about being revealed by the fakes. So she basically realizes that Pink had complete faith in one thing, the other diamond's complete lack of empathy, which leads to her then being empathetic. And I will say that Anthony and Jack the Chicken then went on to comment on that and discuss that. And it's I think it's a really interesting one. So Anthony says at the trial it was pointed out that there were no Rose Quartz soldiers in Pink's entourage at the time of the shattering, so she could have done it preemptively as part of the plan.
It's a lot to unpack there. It is a really interesting theory, and I think it warrants like even more discussion than we're probably going to have time for here. Because it has all sorts of implications. So there's a few different sort of elements to it that have been hit on. I think I would be happier to know... Then again, no, see, here's the thing, right? So part of me goes, yes, please, hopefully it's that. The idea that Rose is like trapped hundreds of gems in bubbles, like the fact that you know, oh, wait a second, but those Rose Quartz that were bubbled post Rose dying, weren't they? Pink dying.
I don't know.
Because didn't yellow and blue say specifically that it was in retaliation to Rose killing Pink?
I can't remember. No one specific.
Or was it just? Or was it? Okay. Well, there's two versions of this. If someone is suggesting that it was if someone's suggesting it in a world where they were bubbled in retaliation to Rose killing Pink, then I don't think that quite fits. But because they'd have to be the real ones, because Rose would be, would have no control over what the diamonds did after killing in quote Pink Diamond.
Yeah, of course.
But if in a world where they immediately bubbled a bunch of Rose Quartz the second the Rose Quartz on Earth became a rebel, then I totally buy that Pink could have created fakes to ensure that real Rose Quartz and maybe sent them into hiding. Real Rose Quartz could get away with like not being bubbled forever. But by that same token, she seemed quite happy to have bismuth bubbled for God knows how long. In Lion's Mane.
Well, that's true. But as Anthony points out, they seemed very intent on making sure we noticed that Pink Diamond was able to make fake gem shards. Like that's obviously part of that reveal arc and stuff. But bismuth's bubbling and all those kind of other bubblings in that time period are her fighting a war as Rose Quartz. So that's her doing duty for and as Rose. Whereas if that's her duty, then part of her duty as Rose would be to fake the Rose Quartz bubbles in the zoo. So I think it's, for me, she's acting most as Rose, and the Rose thing to do is to fake the shards and bubble the fakes in the zoo.
Mm. Yeah, it's a really good theory because it goes some way to making her seem less monstrous. But again, because I always interpreted those Rose Quartz being bubbled as, maybe I'm misremembering. I'll have to look up the dialogue from.
What's interesting about that though is the other Rose thing to do is to free the humans that are there, and they're still there. So.
Yeah.
But I think she will. I think that's very spot on. I think they will turn out to be fakes, and I love the notion. Like, fair play to Latty for thinking it through this much. I love the notion that it could be used to make a point to Blue.
Yeah, I want to look up the dialogue again from the episode. To see if they clarified when those Rose Quartz were bubbled, because I think if there was any clarity on that, then it would make this theory, it would make or break that theory for me, immediately, because it would depend very much on the time scale of the bubbling of those.
I don't think the time scale's clear, personally.
I can't remember exactly what they said. They reference it. There's definitely a line of dialogue, but I can't recall if they suggest it happened because of shattering, or just because there was a rebel Rose Quartz, and therefore they were like, well, we'll bubble all the defective Rose Quartzes then. I guess the fact that they're in Pink's zoo suggests it was during the rebellion, I guess. Just that location suggests that, because if the two diamonds had done it, they'd have done it in their, bases or whatever, rather than at Pink's.
Yeah, well, there's... As Latty says, so she says the timing might not work later on in the discussion with Anthony. The timing might not work, but I don't think we have seen they were bubbled after for sure. We know she fought Rose.
Oh, so they discussed that element of it.
They must do, yeah. She discussed. We know she fought Rose's rebellion for a decent chunk of time.
Right. Okay.
So
yeah.
it's not. It sounds to me from that like it's
clarify.
Not clear in the show.
But
so
I mean,
I think, yeah.
I guess, I think, in that case, I hope that's true. I don't know if they'll ever find the time to go back to that subject, because it feels a bit by the by. But at the same time, it's not just a cool detail. They went to a fair bit of trouble to sort of establish it, So why not?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like,
Latty goes on to say that maybe motivation to her thought process was she made up the Rose Quartz to cover herself, and then the other diamonds start saying you should bubble all Rose Quartz, they may be defective, so that she then panics because there aren't any.
So what?
And makes the fakes. Oh, so she's suggesting the Rose Quartz don't actually even exist.
See, now that I find hard to believe, because I think that the diamonds would know all the different, for lack of a better word here, sort of species of gem. Yeah. It's a really cool idea that she invented a species of gem to be, with the Rose Quartz thing. But I don't think so, because I think if you were trying to blend in, if you were looking for a cover story, you would definitely. It makes the most sense to me to become not a completely fictional kind of gem, because that's immediately a red flag to people who've never heard of such a thing as a Rose Quartz. Does that make sense? And I've always found that gems have had a reasonable knowledge of other kinds of gems, where they've seen them and been like, oh, that's a Peridot, or that's a nephrite, or whatever. That I think if you suddenly shut up and like, I'm Rose Quartz, I'm a brand new type of gem, I feel like people would be eyebrows raising like, not heard of that. What are you? Yeah. So while I think that's a cool idea, I don't think it really fits in the logic of the world they've explored here. So the question I suppose then becomes, Chris, if they're fakes, and I'm working under the assumption that she didn't invent Rose Quartz personally because of the reasons I just stated.
Where are the other Rose Quartz?
Where are the other Rose Quartz? What did she do with them? Yeah. Where are they? Is there a planet of Rose Quartz out there somewhere that were salvaged? Because if that's the case, oh boy, That's going to be an interesting discussion. That's going to be, whose side are they on?
Well,
they, exiled on a planet and forced to live separately because of Pink's stupid war. How will they feel about Pink? Will they want to join the White Diamond side of things, or would they be more willing to carry on, working for the person who saved them from being the bubble doll that time?
Well, if they're hidden, because it's this show, it's a clever show. If we're working on the logic that they're out there hidden somewhere, I don't think the planet we've not seen before suggests not being thought through. So if they're hidden in a location that we've seen, then maybe we got ourselves a little Mary Poppins handbag TARDIS action going on with that locked chest.
Oh shit, son!
Maybe. That's a location that we've not seen inside. So what if all the actual Rose Quartzes are in that chest? Now, you'd have to assume that, like I say, there was a TARDIS Mary Poppins handbag element going on.
Because otherwise they're in there.
Otherwise, they might as well be bubbled.
Yeah, correct. yeah, exactly. I was just thinking the same thing. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's potential. Yeah. Why not?
But just... yeah.
Although the idea that they were on Earth hidden, I'd feel like, oh, come on, like, why didn't we meet them sooner? That's a shame. But, like, at the same time, I'd understand why. Obviously, they had to be hidden. But, yeah, that's really cool. There's some really cool ideas there. Yeah. Then again, would Pearl not know about that? Then again, Pearl didn't know about bismuth.
No, did Pearl... Do we know for sure that Pearl knew that Lion had an interdimensional... you don't even need the TARDIS Mary Poppins thing. Lion's head is already this interdimensional space, for things. And
yeah, maybe there's another lion.
Oh, what with? And that's maybe the Rose Quartzes are in Lars's head.
Well, no, because Lars's head leads to the same space as lions. Yeah. But I was just thinking, no, because there'd be more trees. If there were more lions, there'd be more trees. So when there was one tree in an infinite field of emptiness, Lars became lioned. He got pinked. Yeah. And there was 2 trees. Yeah. So I think if there were more lions and more manes to go through, they'd be different. There'd be more trees because it all seems to lead back to the same subspace dimension. So maybe not.
That's fair.
Next theory?
Cool. Next theory.
Okay, right. Let's see. Were we on number 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I did shut the front door theory 4. Okay, ready. Chris, let's keep this party alive. It's time for Theory 5.
So Theory 5 comes from Adrian Warher, Wahrer. Apologies if I'm saying that wrong, Adrian. It's always worse when it seems to be a real name, not like a username. But basically, his theory is that the diamond attack would have destroyed every gem on Earth, but it bouncing off Rose's shield is what caused the corruption. So he's got a few evidence things for that. We've seen Stephen's shield produce a harmonic effect when it destabilizes the water clones in Ocean Gem. Both Rose and Stephen tend to go with their gut. So that may explain why corrupted gems are the way they are. The shield was only able to preserve that much of them. While the corruption attack was directly carried out by blue, yellow, and white, this would add another layer to Bismuth's assertion that only a diamond could do damage like that. So he's gone into more detail. I think that's on the Dove campaign, or it might be on the most recent episode, the Cat Fingers rewatch. Actually, I think it's Cat Fingers rewatch, if you want to read further details about what he's suggesting. Are you there, Dan?
I am. The line was breaking up a lot, so I didn't. I was hoping to get enough from context. It stabilized a little bit towards the end when you were saying the last bit, but I missed parts of that.
So basically,
I'm so sorry.
I say, full theory for people, because I'm now going to summarize. But full theory on, I believe, the Cat Fingers revisit. If not Dove, but I'm pretty sure it's Cat Fingers because it was only 2 days ago that it was posted. So the diamond attack would have destroyed every gem on Earth, but it bounced off Rose's shield, and that's what caused the corruption. So then he points to the harmonic effect seen on the clones in Ocean Gem. He points to the fact that they go. Okay,
that makes more sense to me now.
And Bismuth saying that only a diamond could do that much damage.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, no. Yeah, that's a reasonable theory. I think I would be sad to think that Rose's desire, because for that to be dramatic, Rose would have to have not known that was going to happen for that to work for me. Because like, if Rose made such a selfish choice to save her friends over every other gem on the planet, that would be pretty monstrous. So she'd have to have not known that her own shield did that. That seems less likely to me. Does that make sense when you follow that logic?
But you could use that. They did this Rose is a war criminal arc for ages. And then she's not a war criminal, but she did lie to her friends. And so the notion of they flipping it back again and being like, she knew this was going to happen and did it anyway to protect her friends. Like, and maybe the dramatic potential becomes, you use it as a parallel. So the dramatic potential becomes Steven has to make a decision like that, where he has to choose between a whole planet or a friend, and he chooses the planet or something. Maybe.
Yeah, I guess.
I think the notion makes a lot of sense, though.
Oh, the idea is solid. I just, then when you put it into the story that's happening here, I just don't know what that does to Rose's character, because I don't feel like we can live in a world where she didn't know that was a possibility. Does that make sense? Unless you're just going by she doesn't, she's a youngish diamond, she doesn't really know how all her powers work.
Or instinct. And then, because you could, instinct of, oh shit, cover the shield. And that shield moment has been built in Legacy to be this big dramatic moment. But what if, like, one of the things she is praised for protecting them, what if that turns out to just be gut instinct and she got it horribly wrong? And then we see flashbacks of her realizing this and her being distraught about this.
That would be cool. I'd be up for that. I mean, in the world where, like, because again, that's a world where she doesn't really know that was going to happen. Yeah, I'd be on board. I mean, we know she used the shield as Rose Quartz in the battles, because all like the murals and stuff depict Rose Quartz, with shield and sword. But so it's not like that was the first time she whipped the shield out. But I think, yeah, if you want to live in a world where like she sort of didn't 100% know how it worked yet, and that was the moment, and then you do the horror of what have I done? Yeah, I'd be up for that. I think it's a cool theory. I think scientifically it was a cool theory anyway. Like, I liked the notion, like, of the reverberation causing it to make the situation so much worse. But I think, to be honest with you, I think it was clear that the diamonds were trying to kill every gem on that planet. Just like, that's the other element of it. I think it's very clear that their goal was to wipe out the gems. Like, not just the crystal gems, but everyone. They were just, they wanted to cleanse it. They were done with the whole thing. Like, every gem on that planet was causing them trouble for one reason or another. Either it was their own gems who were inept enough to be losing to Rose Quartz, or it was the Rose Quartz gems that were, the Rose Quartz and her, crystal gems that were, rebelling and causing such trouble. I actually, that's the other element of it that I find slightly harder to buy personally, is the idea that, like, the diamonds were just aiming for someone specific.
Yeah.
Because they surely, for that theory to really hold weight, it would have to be completely Rose's fault if you wanted to go that route. And I think the diamonds were trying to take everyone out.
Oh yeah, especially when you got to remember, like, the context of them doing it. They thought that their, sister or friend or whatever, however you want to clarify their relationship, they thought the pink diamond had just been destroyed. So it's anger, like, they've just destroyed our family, let's blast the whole planet. Like,
yeah.
We got some quick fire ones here. They're all in one comment, but they are technically,
are we going to call it theories?
6? Yeah, call it theory. Well, we're taking one by one. Go on.
Okay. Oh, it's time for our theory fix. So that's right, it's time for theory 6.
So, Slaughter Round on the Zach Callison video posted a bunch of bullet points. His first one, Theory 6, Peridot doesn't get her star, and there's an episode about her feeling inadequate and left out, and she learns she doesn't have to look like people to be part of the same group. That's a nice notion.
Yeah, I like that. I don't remember catching that one when I read through the comments. I really like that. I think that's a great theory.
Although I can't decide, because I love that notion, and I think that's an important message.
But you kind of want really Peridot to get her star.
I kind of want Peridot to get a star.
Yeah, yeah. I felt that's why there was a pause from me about it, because I was weighing up the story potential versus my own personal desire to see Peridot with a star.
Because also, I think the only other thing with that is at some point you have to give her. Well, if you do that episode, you can't ever give her a star because it will backtrack that episode.
That's the problem. Because also as well, Peridot has been notoriously proven to be very difficult to poof. They have repeatedly on the show shown other gems poofing very, minor injuries. Really, like Amethyst particularly seems to poof with ease. Maybe because she's overcooked, as they've described her in the past. Maybe that's made her a little bit weaker in that sense. Maybe she's a little bit more susceptible to being poofed. Peridot, on the other hand, has been shown to be very hardy on multiple occasions where she has been in a situation you would go, that would definitely have poofed one of the other gems, and she's come out okay. The thing that poofed her in the end was a diamond, So you really put yourself in the situation as well, as if you do want to give her the star later on, which I think she is going to get, because I think Shelby Rabara, the voice actress for Peridot, sort of was like teasing about that on Twitter, was like, you never know, it'll happen at some point, or I can't remember what she said, but there was some sort of comment that a lot of fans latched onto as, yes, Peridot's getting a star. So you'd have to poof Peridot again, and I don't know how you'd find time for that.
Do you think? Because I do love that notion, and I love that notion of doing it with Peridot. But do you think you could do a similar story if you did a flashback to Amethyst coming out of the hole? The only downside is that Amethyst doesn't necessarily know the size of Jasper and the others, so wouldn't have that direct comparison. But I think you can do potentially a story about being different but fitting in with her and flashbacks to how she was accepted by the Crystal Gems.
Yeah, I think
it's not as good. It's not as good as that. But I just sorry to be
no. The only reason I was
fan-led slaughter round, but I want Peridot to get a star.
No, because I'm just trying. I'm thinking that the implications of that through. I think that's a good idea. I think that's not a bad idea either. I think with Peridot, like, it's they are in a weird position now that Peridot's arc has sort of happened. So you do think, like, to keep her sort of engaged in the plot going forward, we need to keep her character growing and learning to not care about her visually being a part of the Crystal Gems when she knows that she's fought alongside them and stuff. That could be a really great episode. And when I weigh it up, while the fan in me really does want to see Peridot with a star, because to me she is a member of the team now. And I think it would be cool for her to have a star somewhere on her form. That story does intrigue me, and that story does and it does keep Peridot like in the game in terms of dramatically. Because let's be honest, since then again because now Lapis is back. We've kind of, because for a while her story was the loss of Lapis, right? Like you look at Just One Day Let's Only Think About Love. When he gets to Peridot, the line is, let's think, thinking about, friends we wish we were inviting. Peridot's obviously looks really sad looking into the hole where the barn used to be. That's a metaphorical and physical hole. It's a physical hole in the ground, but it's also like the hole in Peridot that's been left. So they had this really great arc for her there, but now Lapis is back. The only place you take her character is either exploring her relationship with Lapis further, or doing something like that. And I'm not against that. I think even though I would be really sad about the star, because that's something I think we've earned at this point as fans, like following Peridot's arc. I think it'd be a really nice sort of bow to that. I think the message of you don't need the star, I think that's quite powerful.
Powerful. Yeah, definitely. You ready for 7? Another bullet point from Slaughter Round?
Sure. So, I'm going to go rappy again because I can't think of a way to sing. I need to think of a... Okay, yeah. Let's turn this theory up to 11. It's time for Theory 7. Made that a little bit rappier again.
White Pearl was shattered in a fit of rage by White and has been put back together a la Frankenstein's monster.
Yes. Just yes. Think that's... Yeah. I think absolutely, because it would explain the voice being different, the personality being different, like the weird control element. I think not just poofed. I think white maybe has the power to actually reassemble a shattered gem somehow.
Oh wow!
So I think she literally shattered, not just poofed, but shattered, and then literally put the pieces back together. You know, we saw those gem experiments with the gem shards on Earth, where the gem shards are being fused together and creating all these weird, like, you know, arms, legs all sticking out at weird angles. That's because it's several shards strapped together, right? I mean, that's what the cluster is, essentially. Imagine if you did
the cluster. It's a big old fist of it.
Yeah, so the notion of taking all the pieces of a gem that has been shattered, but they're all pieces from that same gem, so they're all the different bits of that gem, and jigsawing them back together. That, you know, if you said that led to what we got when we saw White Pearl, yeah, that makes sense to me.
But also, I mean, we have discussed it before, but obviously the theory as well then that White's Pearl was actually at one point Pink's Pearl, and our Pearl was at one point White's Pearl.
I'm glad this one has come up.
Fits into that too.
Can I?
Yeah, well, no, I don't think anyone's directly asked us, but it has been discussed enough that I think on a theory episode we should.
No, I think somebody in the Discord did say for theories, and
oh, okay, fine.
Because I remember thinking, yes, I'm glad they've asked, because the notion that the pearls swapped we discussed again in Legs from Here to Homeworld, because we were a lot more free to talk about theories once we were caught up, I suppose, and. I was not dismissive, but I was a little bit like, yeah, but what do you get out of that? Like, they swapped, okay. Like, I don't know, I was a little dismissive of it. Not like I didn't think that it was possible, just, you know, I didn't really see where that went. But I'm glad this has come up, because I've thought about it since, and I'm way more on board with this than I thought I was initially. Because, like, first of all, the reason the theory makes sense is the gem positioning. For those who haven't noticed, White's Pearl has her gem in the position of one of the other. Wait, which diamond is which now? I'm losing I've completely lost track of my thought. It's basically gem positionings. The reason that you can assume, because does White's Pearl have her gem in her belly?
Yes, yeah, I think that's it.
So so basically, the thinking is she was Pink's originally, because Pink has her diamond in her belly, and if you look at yellow and blue, their pearls have gems in the same places as them, and our pearl has one in her head, which is where White Diamond has her gem. So the idea is that they got rotated around at some point, because maybe it was a way of trying to control Pink. By giving her White's Pearl, who would still be technically doing White's bidding, and it was supposed to be only a temporary thing, and then she got attached to Pink, and it never got switched back, maybe. It's a little bit unclear. I think there's a lot of really cool story potential there, though, and I think...
wouldn't it be I like the notion that our Pearl somehow encouraged it and like had a crush on Pink all along, and just like,
oh yeah, that's nice too,
manipulated things so that she would end up being the diamond. But
then the idea there, the way that links into the theory of White in a fit of rage shattering, you know, the essentially Pink's original Pearl. If that theory is true, is the idea that like after the rebellion, because Pink, presumably at some point Pink would have had to have explained that Pearl had rebelled with Rose Quartz, because Pearl fought on the side of Rose Quartz. That's actually now that's even a bigger question, because Pearl knew, was Pearl playing both sides like Pink? Was Pearl showing up in Pink's court? Or was Pearl like pretending to have defected with Rose Quartz?
I feel like
I don't know.
Shit.
I'd never thought of that.
Yeah, what happened to what in their minds happened to Pearl?
because the way it linked into the theory was Pearl, you know, claimed allegiance for Rose Quartz and disappeared, and then in a fit of rage at of Pink having lost her pearl, she shattered Pink's pearl.
Oh, that's a great notion.
So like so Pink had been irresponsible enough to while starting her own colony, she'd botched it enough that her own original pearl had gone to the side of Rose Quartz. So in just rage at that, she was like, well, we'll see how Pink feels when I destroy hers then. And then since then, she's needed a pearl, and she's reassembled her, and that's why she's this weird sort of shell of a pearl,
I like that.
Me too.
I like that a lot. Great shout. You ready for another one, Daniel?
What number are we on?
That was 7 because you said take it up to 11, and I remember thinking, but it's theory 7, so that was 7.
Okay, but I said take it up to 11. It's time for theory 7,
like a Spinal Tap type thing. But
I was just looking for the rhyme, Chris. When we get to theory 11, I'll make a joke about 7. I don't know. Finding these rhymes has not been easy. This one I think I've got though. This 8, I think I can think of several rhymes for. So, okay, yeah. Chris, you and me need to accept our fate, and it's time to move on to theory 8.
Nice. Yeah. Pearl will be... this is Slaughter Round again. Pearl will be shattered / cracked next. She's had several arts, Garnet foreshadowing danger. She's still betrayed Homeworld, even Rose. Yes, I know this one isn't likely.
So the theory is that Pearl will get shattered?
Yeah, Pearl's going to get shattered next.
Shattered or poofed? Shattered, I guess, is what they're saying. Because poofed
shattered / well, he's put shattered / they've put shattered / poofed / cracked.
Cracked, probably you couldn't do, because Stephen can definitely heal cracks. So unless that she gets cracked, she's separated from Stephen, and the story is she has to find Stephen again so he can heal her. So you have a few episodes of a cracked Pearl doing, where her body's doing weird things, like when Amethyst was all gangly armed and what have you, when her gem was cracked. Shattered, I find less likely. Ultimately it's still a kids show, and the heroes are coming out on top. Like I find it very unlikely we'll ever see a major death of the core sort of cast. Not a permanent one anyway.
I don't know. In this show, I think anything's possible, but
yeah. But I mean, look at what they did with Lars. They gave him a big death, and then they brought him back straight away. So like, I don't know. It just. I think the show is too full of hope to do that permanently. Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
Not that I personally wouldn't enjoy the dramatics of that. Don't get me wrong. I just, when I think about what this show is tonally, I just feel like that doesn't quite fit, which is a shame because I don't think it's a bad idea. I think I think killing a major character now at the hands of White maybe would create stakes going forward. Because you'd go, well, anyone could bloody go now then. That, like, we just lost Pearl, like, or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would be heartbreaking for a million reasons. So from a dramatic perspective, I totally understand the impulse to be like, oh, they're going to kill someone. But, because I think that just raises the stakes, makes the whole thing work really well. I think the only problem with it is just I'm not sure it fits with the hopeful tone of the show.
Yeah, I think we've just... If she is, I think the logic that she might get poofed next is spot on, but I don't think we're going to see that for a while because we've just had 2 poofings, and I think the moments of them coming back and whether they have or haven't got stars are going to be so important, and the way they come back and deal with Bismuth is going to be so important.
Yeah, next theory.
Right, theory. Yep.
Regretting my choice to make these rhyme, it's time for Theory 9.
Each diamond gives a unique effect / power after healing. Okay, so we've kind of discussed this. Perhaps yellow gives physical strength, blue gives intelligence / intellect or foresight. So we did discuss that earlier, coming down on, yep, absolutely. We're just not quite sure who leads to what yet.
So why is this happening? I lost a bit of that again, and I think I lost keywords. So sorry.
No, basically it's just Slaughter Round saying what we discussed earlier. So each diamond gives a unique effect / power after healing. Perhaps yellow gives physical strength.
Right, so I had... Okay, so that must be... Because remember I said I thought I'd seen someone post that? That must be where... Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
It's really annoying because the phone line has only broken up twice this episode. It was both times. It was when you were explaining the fucking post.
Giving a theory.
Really irritating.
So we have discussed that one. So you ready for theory 10?
Yeah, sure. Oh no, it's a song again. Let's move on to theory 10.
Slaughter-Round's last bullet point: Jasper not coming back until the last half of season 6 or all of season 7. I think that makes sense. I think we deal with space next. We deal with diamonds.
I think giving them a bit of giving them some time out there now is the only downside.
Where is Jasper now? I can't remember.
Where is who? Sorry,
he's poofed. She's poofed, isn't she?
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess so. I mean, I don't know. It's like there's. I suppose that one's not so much a theory as it is just like a timescale for something to happen, and I guess the timescale for these things to happen, you can make a good guess at this point, but I suppose it really depends on where they go with the current arc, because they could be out in space for a while. So, yeah, it's kind of like a guessing game, I suppose, about when and where, rather than an actual theory on a plot point.
Yeah, so I think it's perfectly reasonable that could happen.
100%.
I'm not entirely convinced they'll be out in space for a while, to be honest with you, because I think that all they really need to do is have Lars and the off-colors reference them, and then they can get back to Earth really easily. So I think, if we were back to Earth quickly, I wouldn't be via Lars's head. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, I've had to step away from the microphone, Chris. I'm very sorry to let my cat in while you were talking.
Dan's letting the cat in. So he's saying, "Great point, Chris. That's absolutely right. You're a hero."
Mm-hmm.
I think hero is strong, but those are all Slaughter's round points. I do want to point out that Slaughter round at the end of his message, because this was posted on the Zach Callison video, has put "Well done, fellas. Keep it up. Proud of you." Which is a really sweet, nice thing to say. So I just want to say thank you for that. And a lot of people said that with the Zach Callison interview. And a lot of people that said they were proud were people that, like Slaughter Round, that have listened and commented for a long time. So we, it's because of you guys, and we, it's so lovely to hear people say things, use words like proud. We are proud of you guys for building a community that is friendly and lovely to each other. So the affection goes both ways. So thank you to Slaughter Round and anyone else that said that. It's a really lovely thing to read, especially when the Zach Callison interview could have gone either way. So hearing people say that they not only liked it but that they were proud was really awesome.
Yeah, I think the interview as well, I think a lot of people, I saw a lot of comments when it was posted elsewhere, not amongst our listenership, and people were saying things like, oh, these are really interesting questions. I saw a lot of comments like that on Reddit and stuff, and that was a really nice thing, because we did try really hard to make sure that what we were asking was not the same 6 questions Zach gets asked all the time. I cannot tell you how many times that day people asked him, "What's your favourite song?" Yeah. And it was for those interested, it's over, isn't it? He said that every time. Fair play to him, consistent answer. But I wasn't going to ask those same handful of questions. We were trying to be a little bit off the beaten path, and it was nice to see people appreciate that we did that. Zach himself seemed to be honest. He was sort of like, "Oh, you guys really did your homework." He says that in the podcast, and he said it afterwards as well. He was really pleased. We properly looked into it. So
we did. So we got theory. What is this? Theory 11.
Yeah. So I got something 7 blah 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 11. I said I'd rhyme. I said I'd rhyme 11 with 7. I'm bored of the songs, Chris. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I got a suggestion actually. So there's as far as I'm aware, there's kind of 3 more. There's this last one, but then the other 2 are by Eric Torres, who put a lot of detail, and thank you, Eric, for that, into theories surrounding relationships in the show. So pairings, Stephen and Connie and Stephen Amethyst. My suggestion, Dan, given that we're at an hour 10, would be that we make the next theory the last theory, and then come back next episode and do a relationship episode. So lead off of these 2 theories, talking about those 2 pairings, and then discuss some other pairings in the show. Maybe comment below if there's a particular pairing you want us to discuss. What do you think to that?
I'm on board with that. I think that's a great idea. Let's do relationships.
Cool.
Let's do love stories.
Cool. So we're going to do relationships next week with Eric's 2 theories then. Thank you again, Eric, for sending them. We're not... But I don't want to... He put so much detail into them. I don't want to rush them. I don't think
Eric will be disappointed at the idea that they may have spawned an entire episode off their question.
Okay, cool.
So
that's fair.
You could look at it in a... I'm sorry that we've not... that we've not tackled your theory in the theories episode, but, we're going to give you your whole... own episode on, but admittedly, I don't know if that necessarily the specific relationship suggested in that comment will be the whole basis of the whole episode, but will certainly be the impetus for us to discuss in general all the different couplings in the show. So you shippers, get in the comments. Who are you shipping? Who should we be shipping? Yeah. Let us know. Let's do some shipping. That's week. Next week's episode. It's just going to be called "Let's Do Some Shipping." Let's upset a lot of people.
And you could say we'll just do a 2-hour episode now, but I don't. Even subconsciously, I think we'd rush it. And Eric put a lot of thought into his comments, so I don't want to do that.
Let's crack on then.
The final theory is still a big one. Give me an introduction.
Where are we now? 11. Did I just do 11?
11.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Oh, you did. Well,
I sort of went.
No, it's the final one. Put a bit of effort in.
All right, it's the final theory, and I said I'd make it about 7, so let's get to theory 11. There you
go. Orion Thurman. Onion is white diamond. The only theory worth discussing.
True. You know what? This theory, this theory toted the line between legitimate theory for some people and completely hysterical joke theory. I think I would read comments over the years when White Diamond was speculated but never actually, the name was never uttered. So many Onion is White Diamond comments, and I have to assume, based on the sort of enthusiasm and volume, that some of these people legitimately believed it. Okay, let's take a second to look at if that was a serious theory. How would White Diamond be a threat if she'd been Onion all along? Just ask yourself that question to the people out there who, I think, either it became a meme and every single one of those comments was a joke, or some people must have believed it. I'm agreeing with the people who treated it like a joke. Because I just don't see any world in which that's a serious theory. And I know that the person in question here, I know Orion was obviously doing it as a joke. Reasonably so.
Yeah, because it gets referenced, I think, in the... doesn't Zach say it in the interview, I think?
Yeah, maybe. It definitely... Yeah, the Onion is White Diamond theory, again, became a running gag. But I've got to assume someone out there was like, that's possible.
Okay. So I think... I agree with you. Does it make White Diamond less powerful? I would also say, of all the White Diamond theories, and this is one we have discussed in previous episodes, the notion that she's holding the planet together is, I think, very likely. So she couldn't, unless she was projecting herself, she couldn't do that.
I think the Onion is White Diamond theory is before we'd seen White Diamond.
Yeah. But I think it's hilarious.
The idea that she would reveal herself to have been Onion.
Yeah, but you're right. Onion and Steven have been alone so much, unless she's been learning. Who knows? But also, Orion seems pretty scared in the episode with Connie's dad. So
you said Orion. I assume you mean Onion.
Onion, sorry. And Onion also doesn't then fight Aquamarine. When they're captured.
One theory I saw that was an interesting sort of interpretation of the Onion White Diamond theory was that Onion is another kind of gem that White Diamond that is from White Diamond's court and is on Earth spying. And I like the notion. I remember seeing a comment that was like, "That's how she knows what's been happening on Earth. That's why when she sees Steven, she doesn't immediately have questions."
I do like the notion that there's more to Onion than we thought. But equally, I like the notion that White Diamond is reading Ronaldo's blog.
I like the idea.
I'm not being entirely facetious.
No, I know what you
the
mean.
notion that someone is reading his blog and with more knowledge knows what he's actually talking about and is able to glean genuine information as a result.
I also just like the idea that Onion's a weirdo. I think an explanation for Onion would hurt Onion as a character in terms of I just kind of enjoy that Onion's this little weirdo that just sort of does strange things, and we just sort of go, okay, you've got a... Wasn't there an episode where he had like a gerbil in his mouth or something?
Yeah, something like that.
So sad. And then he got some sauce packets, threw them on the ground, drove over them on a moped. Onion's just this little strange thing, and I just kind of love that about Onion. I just love that Onion just does whatever his impulses indicate, you know. And I think that if you gave Onion some sort of backstory, I think it would hurt Onion as well as White Diamond.
And I'd hate to look back on the Onion's Friends episode with different eyes, because I really love that. Onion Gang, sorry, I really love that episode.
Yeah, it's a good episode. Yeah, I agree.
So there you go. We've theorized. Again, comment below if you said something and we've missed it. We'll do relationships next week. So again, also let us know what relationships you want us to discuss.
Yeah.
Yep. And yeah, I've had a good time this week.
Who do you
enjoyed
ship?
it? I have a good time every week, but you know.
Yeah, I enjoyed this. It's always fun. In the future, I think maybe we'll do another theories episode, and at some point we are due to do another Q&A. A post catching up to the show Q&A is probably a necessary. It's something we haven't done yet because people haven't ever been able to freely ask you questions.
I tell you what, I think one of the reasons we haven't done it is because we've just all assumed that the next episode would air sooner than this, and that would finish off season 5.
Yeah.
Season 5? Yeah, season 5.
5, 6? I don't know. Fucking the season's been
season 5. Season 6 is the one that's not been confirmed.
Yeah. There you go. Cool. So yeah, Cool. Thanks very much. And a weird one, actually, very quickly. I'm not going to make a whole thing about this, but I just want to thank you to the Roundtable for taking a look at our video, our interview with Zach. It gave us about 1,000 views on that video and, 30, 40 subscribers. So as we still edge our way to 1,000 so we can remonetize the channel, that actually helps. So yeah,
yeah, definitely.
And it's not a bad little look at the video. I mean, it's a chunk of it is a chunk of our interview with Zach, and then there's a discussion about what that could mean. We've talked about the Roundtable in the past. I'm not going to go back over that ground.
Similar vein. Thank you to everyone who, especially, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Cram.
The person who originally brought it up.
No. The person who posted it, everyone's been really good as well at posting it and trying to get it on the Reddit and stuff. And we'd put it on SU Leaks and it had got taken down, and then someone else put it on but phrased it. I think it was Cram, but phrased, and apologies if it's not, but phrased it differently and got it, and it stayed on the SU Leaks Reddit. So
and it's got 150 upvotes, and it's I think a chunk of our views came from that for sure.
So for everyone that's been posting it on Reddit and stuff, thank you.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you to everyone who shared the Zach Callison interview. I think. I want to thank one of our regular listeners. I think it's Ranger Fever, who actually brought my attention to the Roundtable thing, because I was looking at my email notifications, going, "We've gained 6 subscribers in a few minutes here. What's happening?" And I couldn't figure it out, and then I think it was Ranger Fever that posted a comment. It was like, "Hey, you guys have been mentioned on the Roundtable," and I was like, "Cool." And then I had to go looking. And I was like, I couldn't figure out what video we were mentioning. And then there was a video that was clearly about Zach, and I was like, "Oh, I think I know where this is going." Because at first I was looking for a video that we might be tangentially related to. I didn't realize there'd have been a whole video made. It was kind of weird.
It was nuts. It was nuts to see a video made about our video. And but credit to him, we were screen grabbed. Our channel was screen grabbed, and clearly it was very clear where the interview was taken from, and
it was linked in the description and in the pinned comment. So couldn't have done it. I mean, it couldn't have done it any better, with the exception of maybe pre-warning us, so we could have maybe been more prepared to take advantage of the extra attention we got. Because I found myself.
Jess was like,
Go on.
Jess was like, can he do that? Can he just rip some of your order? And I was like, well, technically he does comment on it, so it probably comes under fair use because he does technically make a comment. It wasn't so much interview.
It's not so much a legal thing, and more sort of a like a
pre-warning.
Morally, you should credit the person, which totally done in as loud and as big a way as possible. Names the channel in the video, puts the link in the description, puts the link in the top comment. Cool, really cool, and even says it's a really interesting interview. You should definitely check it out. So good on that front. Couldn't have done that any better if they tried over there at the roundtable. But I think the only thing that would have been nice would have been if we'd have had a pre-warning that they were making a video on our video, because basically that Zach Callison video was designed for our listeners, and it didn't have much in the way of like links to the rest of our content. So I had to add an annotation and a card to the playlist for Stephen University as a whole after the fact, which probably wasn't the best way for it to play out. But, because I think I missed the initial wave because I wasn't prepared for it, which is a shame. But otherwise, what can you do?
That doesn't affect all the positive already discussed.
100%. So, agreed.
Cool. Right. I guess I'm doing the goodbye.
You are?
Yeah, right. So, I've been Chris Billingham.
I've been Dan Doolan.
And we'll see you next week for a discussion on relationships.
Shipping time. Let's be shipping. Always be shipping.
Always be shipping. Cool.